Good. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. If you please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda review. Okay, we have 3 sets of minutes. I'll look for a motion to accept the minutes for December 3rd, Academic Affairs Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes for December 3rd, Academic Affairs, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention? Thank you. Two abstentions.
3, 4, 5.
Everybody that's not on the committee.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Everybody that's not on the committee shouldn't be there. That's right. Okay, and we also have the December 3rd school board meeting. Motion to accept, anyone?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded for the school board meeting on December 3rd. Any errors, omissions, corrections? Okay, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. Thank you. And the last set is the school board meeting for December 18th, which was a non-public session for discussion of the contracts between the support staff, or the administrators rather, and the teachers.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, by signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 2 abstentions. Chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, public input. This is the time to address the board if you'd like. There'll be another session at the end of the board meeting as well. Yes, Mr. Vance.
Good evening. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. In November, Team Wolfboro asked for a representative from the school board to join and work with Team Wolfboro in planning drug prevention programs. And I assumed it's also a school administration person would also be available. New Hampshire is an island surrounded by the sharks of big marijuana, a $10 billion business. 10 states have legalized recreational marijuana, and the results are never positive. A report by the Centennial Institute of Colorado Christian University concluded that for every dollar earned in tax revenue from marijuana sales, Coloradoans spend approximately $4.50 to mitigate the effects of legalization. These increased costs include accidental poisonings, traffic fatalities, court costs for impaired drivers, and employer-related charges, among other things. In Colorado, school officials have used descriptions such as drowning and under siege to portray their battle with the increase in drug violations. A health teacher in Oregon shares about a fellow teacher who tells of times that kids come to class so high that she cannot have a conversation with them. And on November 29th, 2018, in Mulberry, Florida, 5 middle school kids went to the hospital after eating gummies laced with THC, even though those candies are illegal in Florida. The legalization of recreational marijuana is the greatest threat to our children. The New Hampshire Democratic Party has already accepted it as part of their platform and filed a bill. It is critical that every school board, principal, teacher, and every parent contact their state representative and state senators to stop this madness. The life it saves may be your own child. And I've got a fact sheet and contact information for each of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. And if any board member has the time and would like to work with Team Wolfboro, please let me know, and I'll get in touch with Bob. I know everybody's schedule is very busy, but it is important. So, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public input at this point? Okay, well, move on. We don't have a student representative report tonight because Mr. Dene is out sick, so he'll be in next board meeting to update us on what's happening at the high school. Superintendent.
Okay. Well, I'm pleased to introduce tonight Susan Merrill and Terry Ann Cox. Susan is our Special Education Director, and Terry is the Executive Director of the Wolfboro Area Children's Center. And they've been doing a collaborative project together, and it's just one of those projects between the school and community that I've really enjoyed seeing develop. And it's been great to have Terry on board at the Wolfboro Area Children's Center. It's really allowed us to do many more things together. So with that, Susan and Terry, if you'd come forward.
It might be good if
Over
maybe you
here.
stand on this end just so both cameras can get you.
That's my
We
dream.
want to make sure you're well seen.
So in April of 2018, the New Hampshire Department of Ed published a community collaborative application. And the application required a collaboration between a school district and a community agency working with early childhood, some capacity of early childhood. And the purpose was really to promote healthy development with children with disabilities birth to 5. So it could be early interventions, from birth to 3, or it could be our population. We were looking at 3 to 5. So Governor Wentworth and the Children's Center submitted an application on our newly formed collaborative called Fostering Footprints. And Fostering Footprints was really selected as the name because, in particular, the Ossipee preschool has some very colorful footprints on the floor that help guide children where they're going, and it's color-coded. You have a handout, too, if you need it. And so we were one of 5 selected by the Department of Ed for this project. Our motivation, what we included in our application when we applied, is we know that the neural frameworks begin at birth, that they start developing then, and that when children are in interactive and responsive environments, their brains are being wired all the time for all the development that's going to happen after that, whether that's academic, social play, language, all of that's really critical. And we knew that the U.S. Department of Labor stats for 2017 showed 89% of parents with children under the age of 6 were in the workforce and employed. So those children under the age of 6 are in either some sort of childcare setting or with grandparents or another caregiver during that time. New Hampshire, 69% of parents of children under the age of 6 are in the workforce. So we also know, I think I spoke at the budget presentation about that we're seeing the impact of the opioid crisis, in particular on this population, because DCYF is getting more involved typically for neglect, and kids are being removed from their homes. That's definitely a marked increase. We know that preschool children, or actually children with disabilities, have higher rates of expulsion from daycare centers than non-disabled peers. And the research shows that 50% of preschool children who demonstrate externalizing behaviors go on to continue those in elementary school. So early intervention is critical. So all of that, the workforce statistics, what we know about child development really underscore the importance of strong interactive early childhood programs. So that was really where we were coming from when we made our application. We have 3 really broad goals, and one is about providing professional development to our community collaborative members and the site implementation team. We want to increase parent engagement because we know how critical that is. And we want a long-range vision for sustainability to go on from here. So you can see in the last page of your handout, you have that pyramid. This project is really based on the pyramid model. This is really similar to what elementary schools had done with response to intervention. It's a similar framework and model. This is a multi-year plan. We are hoping to expand, so Terry Ann would like to go down to that birth to 3, and we're looking to include kindergarten and possibly, first grade to extend the work beyond there. We're also looking to expand beyond. Really, another thrust of this is that community collaboration, so it might be collaborating with Head Start or other early childhood programs, or it might include collaborating with a group that does pediatric health care or something like that. So we're just getting started. We really started in August, so where we're going, our long range out of this multi-year isn't determined yet, but that's really the vision, is to expand out for the greater good of children in this age range. There is a small amount of funding. There is $10,000 a year that we can, as long as it aligns with our action plan, we can use that money. So the bottom of that pyramid, that effective workforce, is really about having the preschool teachers and early childhood people in place who have a strong foundation in child development and the pyramid model and all of that. That's the base. So the Department of Ed has, I have to say, been providing quite a lot of no-cost professional development. We get priority as a collaborative, and we have had some kindergarten teachers
and some infant toddler teachers also
attend. So we have actually been really benefiting from that free childcare, free professional development. We also there is a leadership team, and we get a process coach. The Children's Center was selected to be the site implementation for this year. You can only have one site, but next year we can add a Governor Wentworth preschool to that. So this year they get the site implementation team gets a process coach, and they get a practitioner's coach who works with the lead teacher.
So again, Susan and I are looking to start at the preschool level. I'll eventually go down for infant toddler. She'll move up to kindergarten. But our intent is to have consistency in training and understanding and focused strategies across all preschool classrooms. So whether it's a preschool classroom that feeds into Carpenter School, or it's a preschool classroom in New Durham or Ossipee, we're looking for consistency across. And we're blessed to provide that preschool education for particularly those children that are here in Wolfboro, as an example. But the consistency, I think, is what we're also excited and focused on as we're looking at that effective workforce.
And we're excited because the Children's Center has to do more intensive hard work, and we're learning from them. So our staff, our preschool staff, is able to take the training and be part of the conversation and begin to make efforts to implement that. But
The heavy
lifting right now
is
is at the
starting.
Children's Center.
But imagine all preschool teachers, regardless of where they're at, having this community of practice, if you will, based on coaching. Again, we
Right.
have a coach that comes in from the state every 2 weeks and focusing on coaching that teacher who is trying to implement a new strategy that supports this early development. The process coach is going to keep us on track to make
Yes.
sure we're implementing.
And our leadership team has Katie Hills on it as well for her curriculum expertise. She also coincidentally is a preschool parent. But so her perspective is very helpful, and we meet once a month with that process coach for the overall leadership team. So we have Carolyn Ramsey, our preschool coordinator, Terry and myself, and Katie Hills, and Heather Corvo, who is the social worker for the Children's Center. So there's the 3 tiers, and we've been getting, as you can see, the color-coded, it sort of goes in order, and really 80 to 85% of children would have their needs met in that blue. The blue is tier 1, and most children would have their needs met, and then it goes up. The targeted interventions go up from there. And on an exciting note, I think, is something called Positive Solutions for Families. We offered a training here to make it easier for our staff to get there, and we did have some people outside of our collaborative attend that, but that is, we have 4 people from our collaborative, 2 from the Children's Center and 2 from Governor Wentworth, who completed that training and will now offer 2 6-week sessions for parents by June of 2020. So that's really, and there's this grant funding that we have can help to support childcare or food while the parents are in the training. Their children can be in childcare at the center or somewhere. So that's our update. We are really just hitting the ground running. We've done a lot of PD and a lot of planning, but we're new on it, and we will keep you updated as we go along. I don't know if you have more you wanted to.
I would just say it's been fantastic learning and working and collaborating with Susan. I think she's a little humble. We were one of 5 collaboratives that did receive this grant. I think that's a pretty big deal. I'm now serving on the state leadership team as well.
That's true.
And so knowing that we were able to receive the state support is very exciting to me as I think about where we will be as we get these children ready for kindergarten. I just think it's going to be a very positive experience. And we will be looking at student outcomes. That's one of the things that's important, where we'll be measuring success and how children, there's less disruptive behaviors over time because they're really living, in the blue, if you will. Our goal is to 4 to 5 years from now have fewer intensive interventions required because children, and working with their families in that partnership, are able to have those children ready with their peer social relationships when they come into kindergarten, able to be ready to learn. So we're very excited, but Susan's been a great partner, and I very much appreciate being part of this collaborative.
It's exciting. And a lot has to do with environments and setting up
Yes.
and establishing those relationships. So we have a great relationship with the Children's Center, and Governor Wentworth have sort of set off on a new venture, and it's all very exciting. So.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much. I am very, very excited about this project because that was my very beginnings, was early childhood, and I know so much development occurs before the age of 50%.
Yes.
And when you think about that, it really brings your mind to how important early intervention is. The other piece of it that's really exciting to me is the intervention for families.
Yes.
Right.
That's just a wonderful piece of the whole thing, to be able to offer families support when your children are really little. So I'm just thrilled. Thank you both for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we have actually 2 exciting presentations tonight. We also have Erin House with us, our athletic director, who's going to present to us the Life of an Athlete program we're looking at doing. And I'm very excited that we also have some students. It's really nice to see some students here from the high school. So welcome. I hope you get to speak a lot, and I hope you won't be nervous.
Thank you very much. A little nervous. All right, so let's go to the same corner. Is that okay?
Sure.
And I was told it was going to be really easy to hook up the presentation.
I think you need this.
Oh, yes, an Apple TV remote. I was told that would be here. That's what I heard.
There you
Look at
are.
that. Amazing. No, I think it just needs to be on, so it should be good. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thank you for having us. We're excited to be here and join you all this evening. I noticed as I came in here, there's quite a few folks that are on the school board that have had kids either on an athletic team here at Kingswood or currently have children on the team. So I'm joined tonight by three tremendous Kingswood student athletes, and I'd hate to put them in just that context of only being student athletes, but they're here to represent the student athlete leadership team tonight. That is a group that we put together, I believe, my first year here, and we've been searching for an identity for them. And the Life of an Athlete program that the NHIAA has seems to be a great program that they can be involved with. It gives them a voice, and we're excited to present you with some information tonight about the program. Before we get going, I just want to apologize in advance. We aren't officially a Life of an Athlete school. We have not gone through the training with our coaches or our student athletes, so we're still, I guess what you would say, in beta version. But I'm really happy about it because we have time to build up, and hopefully this summer do the big Life of an Athlete training with our coaches and our student athletes, and then come the fall of 2019 be up and running. So with that, thank you very much. So this next slide here, I just wanted to take an opportunity and talk just for a minute about the Department of Athletics. One of the great things about this program for our student athletes is our department's big. We have 27 varsity sports that we offer here at Kingswood. At any point in the school year, whether it's fall, winter, or spring season, we have basically the second largest school in the district. We average anywhere from about 300 to 450 kids, depending on the season. So the amount of families that this information is going to go out to, the handouts that they give you, and we did bring some so you would have a chance to review them. We're going to be able to reach a lot of kids, a lot of families. So that's one thing we're excited about. So enough about what I have to say at this exact moment. I have Cameron Mann here, Sarah Bellaclaw, and Connor DeMacy. They're part of our student athlete leadership team. And we did pull a couple websites to show you tonight. We'll let you explore them more on your own, but we wanted to let you know that this is not just a Kingswood thing, it's not just a New Hampshire thing, it's becoming a global thing. This is the actual Life of an Athlete website. It's Life of an Athlete is part of this human performance project that was founded by John Underwood. Our next slide will show you some more information about John. So this website has a ton of information on it, more on that national and global scale. And the athlete that we have, the website we have here in New Hampshire is loanh.org. And this is coming right out of the NHIAA. So that's the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association. That's our governing body for high school sports here in the state. And a great resource for athletic departments statewide. They've done a really great job building this website. It's very informative. A lot of great resources for principals, athletic directors, superintendents. Everything is on this website. They have their own staff at this point in Concord, where it started with just one person. I think they're up to 3 or 4 folks that are working with Life of an Athlete. So the next slide here is a little bit more about John Underwood. So I guess his official title, outside of being a director and founder of Life of an Athlete, is he is a human performance expert. And these are some of the groups that he's worked with. So from the Department of Education all the way down to Olympic committees to U.S. Navy SEALs. He's basically been employed and contracted to help, whether it's athletes or special forces, get the most out of their abilities and their ability to compete or perform in the line of duty. This video here is just a quick 2-minute video I'd like to show you. I heard through the grapevine the speakers are now hooked up again in here, which is
Life of
great.
an Athlete is evolutionary and ongoing. The program is a comprehensive program developed by Olympic trainer John Underwood.
I think the biggest positive about our program is we're giving kids reasons to make better choices and decisions. A lot of the biggest misinformation that we are facing right now in our society is the information around the use of social drugs. And what we'd like to do is base it on science and scientific studies and say, okay, well, here's some scientific studies you might want to take into consideration of how much it affects your brain, your body, your central nervous system, especially when we're talking about physical performance. You need to be trying to protect kids from harm. and there's so many harmful behaviors in this age group. We have some pretty advanced kids now too. I mean, by the time kids are in middle school, the behaviors that they exhibit are not just sometimes youth behaviors of concern, they're adult behaviors of concern. So we're trying to impact young people and say, okay, use this information first for yourself and the decisions and choices you make, but then use it for the people you hang with. Use it for your teammates, your best friends, and those people. And protect each other and watch out for each other rather than just let stuff go. I always say to young athletes, you know, your career is going to be like a 1,000-piece puzzle. These are the pieces. You have to find them and put them in place. You know, I think that what we're trying to do is just bring together all the people involved and help us all have a unified message that these things are just as important as the workout you're going to do or what formations you're going to use when you're out playing the game or who plays what position. We have kids at an age that they're very impressionable. We have kids at an age where they're making life decisions on how they're going to live their life. That's way more valuable at this age than winning stuff. And I think that if we look at the intent of high school sports and athletics nationwide, some people want to make it that it's all about winning. No, it's about growing up healthy, well-adjusted, having some potential to reach some of the talents and potentials that you were given. If we can help even a few kids, it's worth going down this road.
So anyone that's had a conversation with me about athletics, and people sometimes want to talk to me about, well, why aren't all our teams winning, or how come not all of our teams are competitive? Typically what I would say is winning is a byproduct of doing all the small things. And I think this is just another component that we can add into that formula to help our kids make great choices and hopefully perform to the best of their ability. So with that, Mr. Mann, I believe you're up.
That would be me. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well this evening. So this slide really focuses on the growth in New Hampshire that Life of an Athlete has come across. So originally there was only 26 schools when I was a freshman, and then now that I'm a senior, they have more than doubled that. So a lot of people are getting on board. They have reviewed in 2013 to 2014. They reviewed 31 policies, and they have also doubled that. And there was only 600 coaches trained my freshman year, and now that number is well over 6,000. And the coaches trained was only 350 my freshman year, and once again we are more than doubling that. So I guess I am all nervous.
I can't meant the student athletes was 600.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. 600 to 6,000.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a big number. And then the stakeholders trained, there was only 175 my freshman year, and that number is, so the asterisk is multiplied by 1,000. Is that what I got from that? Or no?
Oh, please.
No. Oh, so 638, I'm sorry. That was my bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Back
Skipping
up
out
the
back.
next arrow.
And a lot what we've been talking about at our SALT meetings and while we're all conferences, we get together a couple times a month. The whole overview of what we're trying to get at and how we're trying to impact the school is improve the leadership skills. The whole program is athlete centered. We went to the student athlete leadership conference. It's giving us a voice in the whole system of our athletics. It really focuses on our health and wellness coming up at this crucial time, how we're going to train, how that's going to benefit us, and this handout bullet is going to be a cue for us to hand out some informative handouts to all of you to give you a little better idea, because it's not alliterating it very well right now. I apologize.
It's been a long school day.
Yeah.
So, you're doing great, Cam. So the handouts that are coming around is a leadership guide and a power back diet book. And these are just a couple examples of what the state gives to us. The power back diet, we're going to make sure that we have literally hundreds of those on hand. Great information about what you should be eating, what you should be staying away from. Some of you may know, may not know, I coach youth hockey for a local hockey organization in Back Bay. And I know at 41 years old, you really shouldn't be consuming large amounts of sugar before a hockey game. I had to have that conversation with a 10-year-old as he walked in with a 20-ounce Mountain Dew before a hockey game, which would have been great for the first period, but he probably would have crashed during the second and third. So, and I guess that's where I'm going with this. By rolling this out to our high school kids, and they're talking to little brothers and sisters, and it just trickles down, I think it's going to touch more than just the high school athletes. There's also a one-sheeter here that I printed out real quick, only because it was in my inbox from over Christmas vacation. But with Life of an Athlete, they send you topics that you can go over with your SALT teams. So this one, the monthly message was courage. So in here, nice and colorful, we give this to Connor, who, by the way, is the president of SALT, and Connor would walk into our SALT meeting having reviewed this and been well studied up on it, and we would have a productive meeting around courage. So there's a lot of prompts and paint by numbers that they give to us, which is great. Okay, are you ready, Sarah?
Okay, so the Life of an Athlete program is centered around 5 main areas. Student leadership is one of the most important things. It promotes having student athletes promoting good choices for health and success, and encouraged by engaged coaches who are promoting like healthy, positive environments focused on like improvement and just athletes' well-being, not just winning. And pre-season meetings where they will give information to their students and athletes, but also an opportunity to educate parents and bring this conversation home. And then the athletic codes of conduct are mostly dealing with behavioral issues, like how athletes and spectators representing our school should act at sporting events, and just when you're wearing a Kingswood Athletics t-shirt. And finally, stakeholder unity. It gives an opportunity for members of the community to take a part in giving youth a healthy lifestyle and choices to make. And how does this benefit student athletes? So it provides information beyond just practice and games and how to improve in your sport. It provides how to become like a lifelong athlete. And it's not just a list of rules and regulations. It provides things that you should be doing, not just the don'ts. And it's important that student leaders gain information through this that they can share with their friends and teammates. And it also backs up and legitimizes SALT, which is our club that we use to give information. All right, that's all I have.
Good job.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. On this slide, you'll see the 5 C's of student leadership: civility, competence, citizenship, character, and chemical health. For civility, we want honesty, loyalty, enthusiasm. We want excitement to play the sport that we have committed to. For competence, the necessary level of skill, development, knowledge, fitness, and healthy behavior for that sport. The citizenship, commitment, teamwork, role modeling, absolutely necessary if you want to be a captain. Character, behavior, responsibility, and accountability, self-control and fair play to the team both on and off the field. And chemical health, things like substance abuse with or without the team, and absolutely no partying is what we believe in. So, and for SALT, about a month ago we had a meeting trying to figure out for this spring what we want to focus on, and we came up with these 4 top things. We want to focus on nutrition info and options for our athletes, having better lunches at school, kids who can't get lunches have fully funded meals a day, stress management tools for athletes, things like how to help with your workload during school or how to affect your sleep schedule. Participation for Kingswood sports, so improving numbers in sports, for example, having 35 kids on a football team to making that 60, 70 kids on a football team. And any possible issues with partying and alcohol abuse. So.
Okay, so just kind of coming down the stretch here, I think it's important to remember that we're still in beta version of this. We want to slowly roll it out for the remainder of the school year. And we're going to work with the NHIAA and Life of an Athlete folks out of Concord to, like I said before, roll it out in the fall and host trainings this summer. So when we talk about folks like the stakeholders being trained, everyone in this room, if that was an opportunity you wanted to also join us during the summer training, we would welcome anyone to join us in the community. We want to also possibly, when we talk about long-term expectations, right now it's life of an athlete. So you've heard about athletes this and athletes that. It's a good starting point. I have seen some schools, they go a little bigger and they go life of a night, where it's more than just the student athletes. So we're happy to be the ones to roll it out here and to and set the standard. But there could be some nice tie-ins through educational components in our school system, even something like health classes. So basically, that's what we have. Again, we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We'll take questions if that's appropriate. And before we leave, before I forget, I'd like to invite everyone to the Unified Basketball game here Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So,
I'll see you there.
no questions?
Would this be a great job or no?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, that was great.
Stacey?
Oh, I was just going to say, I know you talked about younger siblings, but do you see this getting rolled up to middle school students?
I think it can be.
Formalized way?
I think it can be. I think having SALT and possibly the athletic department meeting with health teachers and seeing how we can kind of sprinkle it down, and those are kind of some thick pamphlets there, but I think there's a lot of good information in there that middle schoolers could absolutely use. Yes.
Aaron, I happen to be on the council of NHIAA, and I think they have added, I think there's 3 members now that are working with school districts on this program, and I'm excited that you're moving forward with it. It's been a long process for them to really get this thing moving, and I think if you looked at that slide, there were 30 schools, and now there's 60 or whatever. It really takes some time to get it in place and understand the program. And I know there's been a lot of policy changes over the years too, because when they first started it out, it was it was maybe too hardcore, where they had to modify it a little bit so they get more people involved in it and work with the program. So I'm excited that it's coming here.
Yeah, I agree. I think also this is something SALT, like I said, we started my first year, and we had conversations in those early meetings about life of an athlete. And what I would say between those early meetings and the meetings we're having now is the student athletes want it. And I think that's important. When they say that they want it, that's when it's time to do it.
Thanks. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And high schoolers, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. All the stuttering.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay. a separate copy. I mean, I printed one out, but sometimes my pages don't print complete. They cut off some of the bottom of the pages. Okay, great. I'll tell you what. Well, maybe so. Maybe you gotta pull that out and put it back in. You've seen that?
Yes. It's so sad that I and when he's coming, right?
The school, is it different than the town? Well, there wasn't necessarily
I don't know what else we can do with that.
I don't know if the
Because this isn't registered.
you can get
No,
more.
you can take it out.
My approach is to try to approach it. So
Still, there's no.
I had called them to talk to the selectmen.
It's
So I had set up that.
budget adoption.
So I keep them behind the scenes.
You just have to take it out. Okay.
Just gotta get up on the screen.
There we go.
Now, there we go. Look at that.
Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah, no stress.
Okay. I think we're ready. Are we ready? Okay. All right. Good evening. Thank you for being here for the budget hearing, adoption hearing. I'm pleased to report that the Human Resources Committee has reached an agreement with all three collective bargaining units, the support staff, the teachers, and the administrators. The agreements have been ratified by the respective unions, and I'm pleased to be able to discuss the budget tonight with these agreements included. Preparation of the budget begins in October. The principals work with the faculty and staff who provide them with requests and recommendations regarding what is needed for each school. Each administrator submits a budget to the SAU office. The business administrator and superintendent of schools meets with each of them to discuss their requests. If there is a large increase in an individual school budget, unless there is a special circumstance, the administrator is asked to review the budget again and reduce it while keeping their priorities intact. After this, if a large increase remains, a second cut may occur. Personnel requests are made at the same time. Requests for positions may or may not proceed to the Finance Committee, depending on the strength of the rationale outlining the need for the position. The business administrator reviews the district line items and determines the amounts to request based on past history, current expenditures, and projected pricing. After cuts, adjustments, and reallocation have been made, the Finance Committee meets with each of the principals, the special education director, the business administrator, and the superintendent to hear the budget requests. At this time, the Finance Committee recommends the changes they feel are necessary to bring a budget to voters that supports what they are trying to accomplish for the students in our schools and that the voters will support. This budget is the result of that process. When the Finance Committee reviews the requests from the administrators, we consider the programs and services needed to provide a quality education to our students. We are proud of our programs and what our students accomplish. There is a relationship between the condition of the economy and how much taxpayers can afford to pay in taxes. We pay attention to the condition of the economy and try to limit the budget increases as much as possible without compromising the quality of our students' education. It is all a balancing act. Right now, the economy is better than it has been in a long time. Not everyone has benefited, however, from these favorable conditions, so we continue to keep the budget as low as possible without compromising what our students need. Collective bargaining agreements have a substantial impact on the budget, since 75% of the budget is spent on personnel. Hiring decisions are some of the most important decisions made in the district. Our staff is our most valuable resource. Maintaining our infrastructure is important in order to preserve the value of our assets and to prevent accelerating costs. If small problems are left unattended, they will become larger and more costly. Our enrollment drives many of the budget requests. Supplies, equipment, and personnel are all related to how many students we have. Last but not least, changing social conditions impact what we need to provide for our students. Our students need to be prepared for a world dominated by technology. If we are going to teach our children to use technology, there are going to be equipment costs. Another example of changing social conditions is the impact of the opioid crisis. We have more students than ever living with parents who are addicted to opioids or living with other relatives due to addiction in the family. This has a serious impact on the children and the services they need both in and out of school. The district controls budget growth in several ways. The final budget is based on priorities. Distinguishing between wants and needs is part of the process. Needs are prioritized and included in the budget. However, not every request that is made is granted. Because revenue offsets the tax rate, our SAU office is doing as much as it can to capture reimbursement to the district through Medicaid and catastrophic aid. All of the grants we are entitled to are pursued, and the district has also had success in accessing competitive grant funds. Our 21st Century After School program in Ossipee and our robotics program receive substantial grant funding, for example. Our energy conservation project has been an excellent means of controlling energy costs and has helped to offset other increasing costs. Careful long-term planning is another part of controlling costs, though this can be difficult. It is not uncommon to be saddled with an expense as a result of a mandate from the state legislature without the opportunity to plan for it. This year, for example, legislation was passed requiring water testing to be completed prior to July 1st. In other words, this fiscal year for a cost of approximately $31,000, not budgeted when we put the budget together last year. The most significant step we have taken this year to control budget growth has been a change to a consumer-driven health insurance plan, which you will hear more about further on in the presentation. District enrollment is up this year. In some schools, we have more students, and in others, fewer. Enrollment in each school varies from year to year. This has made staffing difficult. However, the schools have found some creative ways to make this work without reducing staff one year and then hiring the next. As the numbers fluctuate at Carpenter and Crescent Lake School, for example, they share a staff member based on which school has the need for an additional classroom. The staff member moves from one school to another each year due to the fluctuation. It is important to note that we anticipated the declining enrollment and reduced the staff accordingly through attrition. This has kept the growth of the budget down, while at the same time we continue to meet the needs of our students. Currently, after a number of years of declining enrollment, the number of students in our schools seem to be trending upward, which is great news. This is a quick snapshot of the major budget categories and where each currently stands. The employee expenses, including the 3 collective bargaining agreements, increased by 2.9%. The general fund increase is at 4.59%. The building and maintenance warrant article is recommended at $200,000, $50,000 over the previous year for a 33.33% increase. And the debt service is down 3.94%. The total budget increase when put together is 3.32%. Personnel recommendations this year include a 50% construction trades teacher, a 50% LNA position formerly covered by the Perkins Grant, a 50% special education position for New Durham School, and a 30% increase in special education position for Tuftonboro Central School. Part-time outreach counselors for Effingham, 20%, and Ossipee, 60%, were requested due to the effect of the opioid crisis on children and families. These positions are very much needed. At this time, it is recommended that these positions be funded by pursuing a grant that may be available for this purpose in order to keep the budget down. Health insurance is going down for the first time in many years, which is helpful. Once again, and this is actually the prior slide, but once again, the New Hampshire retirement system is up significantly. And I have said this many, many times in the past, the state continues to renege on its promise to pay for its share of the retirement cost and has shifted the entire responsibility to local taxpayers. And again, in this particular budget, I'm going to peg it at roughly $750,000, give or take a little, is what we're paying out of our pocket because the state is reneging on their responsibility. Looking at the other expense areas, health services show an increase. This is due to 2 factors. The cost of our employee agreement with Huggins Hospital for school nurses increased, and a nursing position that was formerly included in wages is now included with Huggins agreement. Even with the increase, it is still more cost effective for the district to employ our nurses through the hospital. Several expense objects have decreased: water and sewer, printing, and postage, for example. Snow removal, property and liability insurance, and service agreements are all more expensive now, and the increase is reflected and what you see on the board. Throughout the general fund, there are reductions which offset some of the increases. New equipment and replacement of equipment are the most significant increases. This is in large part due to the need to keep our equipment up to date. 10 years ago, during the recession, we were fortunate to receive ARRA funds in the form of a grant from the federal government. This gave the district the opportunity to purchase smart boards and computers for our students. It is time to replace and add to this equipment. The schools have used equipment past the intended lifespan, and we are well beyond the point where we should be replacing and adding to our technology. Updating our infrastructure, particularly servers, is a critical need. The world has become more and more driven by technology, and what used to be a luxury in this area is now essential. You will also notice decreases in testing material, bottled gas, books, print media, dues and fees. We are pleased with the results of our meetings with all three of the unions regarding their collective bargaining agreements. We have a ratified agreement with the support staff, teachers, and the administrators. There is a very significant change in insurance for all of the groups. Employees with insurance will be paying a portion of the insurance premiums, which I will go into in a few moments. In addition to the cost sharing of insurance premiums, all eligible employees will be changing to a consumer-driven plan through school care called the Yellow Plan with Choice Fund. Consumer-driven plans are relatively new. However, they give the consumer of the health service the opportunity to control the cost by selecting where they receive the service and who provides it. Costs vary significantly among locations and service providers, and this plan puts the consumer in the position of choosing based on a number of factors, including cost. The insurance is a quality plan and very similar to the plan district staff have now. The major difference is the consumer has more responsibility for selecting services, and depending on the amount of medical services needed, there is some potential responsibility for a portion of their deductible. According to School Care, over the past few years, increases in the premiums for the consumer-driven plan have increased much more slowly than other insurance plans. The district was able to save $183,684 in insurance costs for this next year. The other significant changes in insurance is that all district staff will be paying a portion of the premium. Administrators will start out paying 2% the following year, 2%, the following year 2.5%, and the third year of the contract 3%. The administrators who begin their work with the district on or after July 1st of 2019 will pay 10% of their health insurance premium. The agreement with the support staff regarding paying part of the insurance premium is the same, 2% the first year, 2.5% the second, and 3% the third year. All support staff who begin their employment after July 1st of 2019 will also be responsible for 10% of their insurance premium. The teachers opted for a 4-year agreement. Year 1, they will be responsible for 3% of the copay. Year 2, 5%. Year 3, 7%. And year 4, 10%. Next year, staff members will have more out-of-pocket costs for insurance premiums. We do not want our employees to be taking home less money this coming year due to their contributions to insurance. We have dedicated, hardworking employees, and this would not have been fair to them or recognize the contributions they have made to the district. A net loss in dollars is also not a winning situation in negotiations. By changing healthcare plans for support staff and adding the copay, the district was able to save more than $219,000. The total increase for the support staff was $161,689. The district was able to save over $57,000 this year with the insurance changes, more than offsetting the wage increases. The change in the administrator's insurance plan and premium contributions also saved the district money. With a 2% salary increase and the insurance changes, the savings to the district is over $40,000 this year. The total cost of the salary increases for teachers is $687,378.59. The cost savings to the district as a result of the changes in health insurance is $261,962.23. The insurance savings offsets the cost of the salary increase, reducing that the impact of that increase to $425,516. In the past few years, we have been able to retire excuse me, the Ossipee, Effingham, and New Durham bonds. We were also able to renegotiate our debt with the Municipal Bond Bank for the Kingswood Complex building project, resulting in a reduction of $41,000 or more each year until the bond is paid off. Now, each year we have presented a capital improvement warrant article in order to provide a safe and healthy environment for our students and also to protect our assets. For several years prior to the Kingswood project, a capital improvement warrant article was $200,000. It was reduced during the project and has remained for the most part at $150,000 per year. Last year we kept the warrant article at $150,000 with the caveat that given the age of some of our buildings and the upkeep required, it was likely that we'd be recommending $200,000 this year. For each year, we have also presented a turf field capital reserve warrant article. Our beautiful fields have a life expectancy of approximately 12 years at a cost of between $700,000 and $750,000 to replace. The capital reserve was established to avoid getting hit with a large expense all at once. The expense is predictable, and spreading it out over time is a much more reasonable way for taxpayers to manage the expense. The Finance Committee is again proposing to fund the account with money from the unreserved fund balance not to exceed $60,000. We would like to stay on schedule and have the money available when the replacement is needed. This year, we are pleased with some of the increases on our revenue. The more revenue we generate, the more taxes are offset. Our building aid decreases as we pay down the bond, so we see less revenue there. We like to see increases in this part of the budget. The increase is projected revenue we see is a state grant, special education aid, formerly known as catastrophic aid, Medicaid, vocational programs, and tuition is good news for our taxpayers. RSA 40:13, the official ballot law, also requires, as SB2, determines what is to be included as part of the default budget. A default budget contains the appropriations in the operating budget authorized for the previous year, reduced and/or increased by obligations mandated by law or previously incurred, such as debt service and contracts previously approved in the specific amount. One-time expenditures are not included in a default budget. The purpose of presenting a default budget is to give the voters an understanding of what the budget would look like should the proposed operating budget be voted down. The preliminary budget is $54,042,248, and the default budget is $52,754,500. Variance between the default budget and the proposed budget stands at $1,287,748. This one. Sorry about that. This is how the budget increases or impacts each town can be seen on the table currently shown on the screen. Brookfield's change is an increase of 42 cents, Effingham 49 cents, New Durham 45 cents, Ossipee 44 cents, Tuftonboro 19 cents, and Wolfboro 23 cents. These rates are not affected just by the school budget, but also property values and how many students each town has in the district. And these are the important dates to remember. Last day for collective bargaining is tomorrow. We don't have to worry about that, fortunately. Last day for petition warrant articles is tomorrow. Last day to post the warrant is January 28th, and the deliberative session is February 2nd at 10 o'clock in the Arts Center. And voting is March 12th. Filing for district offices for the school board are January 23rd through February 1st. And the open seats right now are at large, which is Ernie Brown's seat, Ossipee, Kathy Frothingham, and Effingham, Bridget Edwards. Those are the open seats. Happy to answer any questions. Yes?
Diane Smith from Brookfield. I have several questions, but I want to start with kind of the bottom line. I thank you for putting the rates up, but could you tell me what the expected local tax burden is overall in this budget? The dollar amount? That would be the combination of the local and the state taxes?
I don't.
If you go back to
Let me
the slide.
go back. Let me take a look.
See, projected taxes, 1418, and then 1376.
I'm sorry, I can't see it from this.
Okay.
Oh, up on the side here, Brookfield is $14.18. The combined local and state.
That is per thousand, so it all depends on what you have for a home, the value of your
I
home.
didn't ask about the tax rate, I'm asking for the overall expense that needs to be raised locally for taxes that will be required from this budget.
No, we don't have that spelled out, we just have the tax rate on this.
Okay.
Deliberative session will have that.
Yes, that's me. I'm sorry, if what you said is, if I understood what you said, that was that the costs associated with staffing has decreased in this budget? Is that, did I understand that correctly?
The overall cost for the contracts that we agreed to with the support staff and the administrators, because of the change in health insurance, is actually lower than what the cost was if we had the old health plan. So we gave them an increase, they're paying some more, but the cost of the insurance is considerably lower than what we already paid for insurance before the other plan. So the plan is saving us money for both the support staff and the administrators. On the teachers' side, the increase in salaries, because the number of teachers and the entire staff, the increase is $600 and some odd thousand for the salary piece, but the health insurance savings between what they're paying and the overall cost of the health care changing from one plan to another saves us 200 and some odd thousand dollars. So the net result of their contract is a $400,000 increase. Part of that, you have to understand, part of the staff already paid a portion of one of the higher cost plans last year. So the fact that we're changing plans, they were already paying for that. So by reducing, they're not paying quite as much for the new plan, but it's a less expensive plan to start with. So there's a little bit of a change between what it was, the green plan.
The green plan.
Yeah.
They were paying 10% of the premium on the green plan, but the green plan was a much more expensive plan. Now they're going to be paying only 3%, but of a lesser plan. So when you put all those numbers together, there's a savings of $200,000 on the health insurance, but the overall increase for the whole 300 members is $600,000. So it comes to a $400 and some odd thousand dollar change. And again, on the general budget in the middle, again, focus a little bit on the new equipment piece, because there was a lot of discussion about that. It's a big number, but most of that is in the technology piece. And I think we really have to understand that technology is what's driving education today and where the future is. And we've been really behind on replacing that equipment for years and years and years, and we have to get that equipment in here to keep our students up to speed.
Speaking of that, you had mentioned that it was a grant-funded effort during the recession that paid for the smart boards and the computers, and that's what's driving the technology cost in this budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
So,
if you remember, that was when the recession hit, and the federal government was giving districts $1 million to spend here, $1 million to spend there, and most school districts around the country benefited from that. But since then, we haven't really been able to keep up with that very well, because we're trying to keep the budget numbers as low as possible. But it's finally got to the point where a lot of this technology is fully modern.
okay, so my question is, recognizing that there's a lifespan to virtually all equipment, had there not, and I've gone through the annual report from last year, and was struggling with trying to understand some of the information. But one of the things that struck me is that you, in my frame of reference is in Brookfield, where we have capital reserve funds and expendable funds, trust funds, that we reserve money in, small amounts of money typically over time for future expected large expenses. And I'm wondering if that is, and I didn't find evidence of that in the documents that I was able to see in this report. Is that something that the school district has entertained, or does, or has entertained doing?
We have a capital reserve fund for special education, which is, again, if we get hit with an unusual special education expense, we have that fund available to tap into. That's been there for several years. Fortunately, we haven't had to tap into that. We also have the capital reserve fund for the athletic field that we're, putting money away, $60,000 a year in. But again, every capital reserve fund that you fund is additional taxpayer money that's going to add to the bottom line of the budget. So we haven't really entertained doing that for a lot of different reasons. But part of it is we're not asking the taxpayers to put more taxes to just put money away in a bank account. We just haven't done that. We've tried to maintain like our buses and all that. We try to maintain a rotating schedule so we don't get into those unexpected costs. But the computer equipment, we have sort of intentionally stretched it out as long as we possibly could, trying to get as much life out of these units as we can. But we're finally getting, kind of hitting a wall where we don't have the time now. We have to, we've got to spend some money and upgrade And once we get these upgrades, we'll most likely be in a much better time to get into a rotating cycle, so we can rotate these out periodically. But we bought so much stuff with that $1 million that the federal government gave us, that, you know, we've used that equipment as long as we possibly could.
I didn't do the math here, and I probably should have before I opened my mouth to ask this question. What does this translate to a percentage? I can't read the bottom line, the blue line there, for the increase for the overall school district for taxes. What's the increase? If somebody could help me out with that.
I think that's just an average. It's not an increase, it's just.
You're talking the average, the combined rate?
So the change in the,
It's 29 cents across the district, if that's what you're looking for.
Okay.
Tax rate.
29-cent increase.
As an average across the
Okay.
district. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but again, that depends on the property valuation too.
Well, I'm just trying to get a handle on what the overall percentage of increase is for the burden locally, tax burden.
That's the system.
So it appears as though it's going to be about roughly 2%.
A little over 2.5%, 3%. Yeah, it's about 3%, closer to 3%.
Because you had said that the overall budget was increasing by 3.3%.
Right.
And that's all well and good, but what I'm interested in, what it's going to cost us.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
It was pretty tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like 2.92%. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Well, I want to make sure that you finish here.
I'm done, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's perfectly fine. Okay, okay, I guess, any more questions? And, you know, there'll be some more detail and more refinement at the deliberative session in February as well.
Actually, I do have another question. It's a process question. There's an awful lot of information that you provided, and it was a great report, thank you. Is there going to be, are you going to post the budget on the website? Or prior to, so that people will have an opportunity to absorb the information prior to showing up at the deliberative session?
We certainly can. We have to approve it tonight. It can be posted on the website, so that, and at the deliberative session, there'll be all handouts with all the, you know, paperwork to follow the budget presentation and all there as well. But yes, it'll be on the website, so you can take a look at it.
Plus a mailer goes out.
Yeah, and then, yeah, after the deliberative session, we do that mailer. I'm sure you're probably familiar with that. We send a mailer out that has the whole budget listed on it with all the warrant articles and all of that. And that goes to all the everybody that has a mailing address in the district.
So this, actually, warrant articles, so is this that you have on the screen right now just the operating budget, or is it the entire expected cost?
No, this is the budget. This includes all the warrant. This includes
The anticipated warrant articles?
Warrant articles
Okay.
and all as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, but they'll all be listed separately, and we're actually going to go through that in a few minutes. We have a warrant, you know, that we're going to be voting on tonight as well. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So the next step is for adoption of the budget, the final budget as presented, and then that will be what we will present at the deliberative session. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to accept the budget as presented. Any other questions so far? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes aye. Okay, so that's the budget that will be presented at the deliberative session. Thank you. Okay.
The next item is the warrant.
We adopt the budget. Okay, the warrant is here.
To start the discussion, I will move the warrant article.
What do you want to do? Move the warrant article? Move the warrant?
Yeah, right, we're supposed to adopt it.
Yeah. Adopt okay, motion to adopt the warrant articles as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the warrant articles as presented. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay. And now we decide who's gonna talk, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So who wants to do what?
I think you should do budget, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. See that?
Surprise.
All right, I'll do the budget.
That's Article 10.
Article 10, yeah.
Ready for
Okay.
Article 2?
I'll do Article 2.
Article 2, that is for the support staff.
Support.
Okay, Ms. Wendy. Article 3 is...
In case it's defeated.
It's a special meeting.
Oh,
You
3
just
three
want
is
to
the
do
special
3.
meeting, you can do 3 as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Wendy for that one. Article 4 is the teachers. I mean, I don't mind doing the teachers, if nobody else wants to.
I can do it, unless you want to do
No,
it.
no, I
Unless-
don't want to.
Is there someone from that group who negotiated that wants to do it then?
You can make Bridget.
Well, we can.
Well, I don't
we can-
wanna volunteer,
well,
I'm just
we can
saying.
cer- we can certainly ask
Yeah.
Bridget if she'd
Yeah.
like to do it.
Yeah.
Or
I'll
is there
be, I'll be
anyone
busy,
else
I'll
here
be
who
busy
was?
that day, so.
Well, I can do it too.
But
I
we-
mean, 'cause
we-
I was
We
there.
should spread it out.
There's
Okay.
Bridget, there's Jack, and there's Ernie.
Well, Ernie's gonna do building and, the
Yeah.
building one.
Just those
So,
were the HR
well,
committee members.
let's
Let me see if Bridget wants to
let's see
do
if
it, if
Bridget
not,
wants
I'll
to
be
do
her
it.
backup.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Stacy or Bridget.
And that would go
Okay,
the
and
same.
that'll go as number 5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's just a follow-up. The administrators,
I'll do.
okay.
Wendy.
Okay, Wendy on the administrators, and 7 on that?
Yep.
Yeah, 6 and 7 on that
6
one.
and 7. Yeah.
Turf field, who wants to do the turf field? All right. Julianne will do the turf field, number 8, no, number, yeah, 8.
Yeah.
And I apologize, the warrant here for number 9 says 150. I had started this back a while ago. It should be 200,000.
Okay, so,
And I'll take that one, Jack.
okay, Ernie's gonna do that one, and just to make it official, let's vote to amend the adoption of the warrant article to reflect the change in Article 9 from $150,000 to $200,000, which is what
So
the
moved.
intent was.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to modify the warrant article to $200,000 for Article number 9. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Okay, and then I'll do the number 10.
But that 200 number was already reflected.
Yeah.
It was it was reflected in the budget.
Yeah.
So we're not
Just
changing
hasn't
that.
changed from it.
Yeah, we're not changing that. It was just incorrect on the printed warrant.
And Jackie, will you do the state of the schools, or?
I'll do the state of the schools, sure.
We're going to be very busy.
Yeah, well.
I'll do the motion to adjourn.
Once every couple of years, we do that, so that's fine.
All right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
All
All right, the next item is a little easier.
Overnight field trip.
Overnight field
Yeah,
trip.
the one member.
And this is our tried and true overnight field trip. It's Lakes Region Technology Center, Health Science Technology Group, and they're going to the state conference. There are 29 female students going, 4 male, and there are 4 chaperones, Cheryl Kravitsky and Scott Powers, and Tricia LaCroix and Nicole Larkin.
Excellent.
And next is another Lakes Region Technology Center program. It's the Lakes Region FFA, and that's their winter leadership camp, and that's at Camp Brookwood. And they have 10 male students and 1 female, and they have 2 chaperones, Bob Gagney and Jens Garinza. And again, that's another tried and true. Kids really enjoy it.
Excellent.
I put public relations on the agenda for discussion. Julianne had called me about the fact that we have had public relations on the agenda for quite some time, but it really hasn't been an active group because it was needed more when we had the building project. So I wondered if you'd like to have it be the kind of committee that convenes when necessary, instead of having it on the agenda for every board meeting, because I'm sure it
Makes
gets
sense.
awkward to say, oh, nothing to report.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think that's, that's fine. There's no specific reason, I guess, that we have to have it on the agenda each time. We do all the public, especially in the budget and all that, we do all the public relations stuff by doing the mailing and all of that, and anybody can call the office anytime for any information, so there's not anything specific, so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
do you want to vote on it?
Do you want to, okay, let's have a motion to remove it as a standing committee, or as a standing committee and make an ad hoc committee when necessary? Okay.
So moved.
All right, that's the motion. All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of removing the public relations from as a standing committee and making it an ad hoc committee when necessary, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So votes aye. Thank you. All right.
Can we remove E from the agenda?
We can move E from the agenda.
Committee reports? Since it's official.
Okay.
Right, and then it's New Hampshire School Boards Association.
Let's see, I know Ernie has some concerns about, you want to talk about any of that, or?
No, I just wanted to give you a heads up on, there were several issues where the New Hampshire School Boards Association did not support the article being brought forth by some of the schools.
Yeah.
And their justification on 2 of them was very, very thin.
Yeah, very vague.
And so I talked to Jack because he's going to be in attendance and he understands my concerns. And I didn't plan on tying you up on all the different ones.
Yeah.
But they were just some things that I thought didn't necessarily reflect our values, whereas if we can get it passed, it might be a good thing.
Yeah, we'll bring that to the floor at the assembly, which is Saturday the 26th. I believe it is, that's a Saturday. And that's always a fun day. And while we're on New Hampshire School Board Association, for those people that don't know, Ted Comstock, the former executive director, passed away over the weekend. He just retired last year, and he passed away over the weekend. Very sudden and very, very sad. He was with New Hampshire School Board Association for almost 30 years. I think he was executive director for 15 or 16 years. And very, very sudden, but it was kind of sad, really a sad loss. He did a lot for the organization, so we heard that today, so anyway, our best to his family and all that. No plans yet that we know of, so, thank you.
I just had one other thing under superintendent's report. It's really not an agenda item, but I noticed in a newspaper article quoting, it was a quote about the number of students in Ossipee, and the quote was 316 students, and I just really didn't want to let that stand because we have far more Ossipee students in the district, so I thought I'd just give folks a rundown of some of the numbers. So really, Ossipee is our second largest student body. We have 577 students from Ossipee. The only larger number that we have is Wolfboro, which is 707 students. Tuftonboro has 259, New Durham 359, Effingham 202, and Brookfield 83. So I just think it's important to have people know that, because when you look at the cost of students, the cost of your budget in your town, 316 versus 577 is really a big difference.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if they just picked the elementary population and forgot about the middle school and high school population coming from Ossipee. So
That does happen to be
Yeah.
the number at the elementary school, so that's likely.
Good information, thank you. Okay, I've got nothing else on the chairman's report at this point. So we'll go to committee reports, academic affairs. Wendy?
Sure. We had our first reading, I think, last month, and it's on concussion and head injuries, policy JLCJ, and we had several revisions. And most importantly, I think this is going to be handed out in advance when the kids sign up for sports, and it gives us a little more leeway to work with, with Mr. House to say that the kids aren't able to return unless they have all their, proper documentation from a healthcare provider, and he gets, the district gets more of a final say to protect the kids. So I think that was it. Like I said, I think the most important is we're going to get it out in advance, some more education for the parents. So if I could get a motion to accept the policy for its second read for JLCJ.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve JLCJ concussion and head injury policy as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. It is a big focus. NHIAA is big time into that as well, so great. Ernie, you're up. Oh, are you done?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Moving right along.
Wow.
Earlier this evening, the Building and Maintenance Committee met at 6 o'clock to discuss our RFQ, but let me explain what that is. The Building and Maintenance Committee is looking into a project to build a solar field at the Effingham School large enough that it would offset the electrical costs for both Effingham and Ossipee School. We think that is feasible. It is all done without monies from the taxpayers, in that the company agrees to do it. We would then sign a contract agreeing to pay for a lesser rate for electricity over a certain 10-year period. And it is hoped that when we're done, at the end of the 10 years, we would own the solar field, and so all the profit would go to us, more so anyway. And I had very rough projection that it would save us a substantial amount of money. So the Building and Maintenance Committee is looking to go out with our RFQ, request for qualifications. Who out there is qualified to bid on a project of this scale? Because they have to have pockets deep enough to pay for all of this. They come in, clear the land, build the product, hook it all up, and we then just pay for the electrical usage at a lower rate. The RFQ will get us some responses within the next 2 to 3 weeks. The committee will work with the administration on determining how many bids we got back and who we like. We would then invite at least the top 3 bidders to come brief the entire school board each having maybe an hour for a presentation for each company, where we can review what they're proposing, because they'll all probably be a little different. And then the board will select one to move forward if the numbers work at that time.
Yep.
So we voted on that tonight. And let's see, you need a copy of this. If you'll pass that down. I'm just passing out a copy of the RFQ that's going to be going out to see who wants to bid on this project. Once we find out who wants to bid, then we go with an RFP, or request for a proposal, and that's when we'll move forward with a full board. So it's all a matter of public record.
Do you need another one? I think I made 9 copies. They can have.
It's okay.
Can have
I have
one.
this one.
Do you want? Sure. Do you want?
Kathy, I gave you one already.
Yeah, you did, but where did I put it?
With my article, which I'll-
Here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got 3 copies. I think we have enough down. Do we have enough down here?
Yeah.
We'll sit down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ernie,
We've
before
already
you-
talked about the 200.
Before you move forward, I think just a point of order, the whole board needs to vote to move forward with the RFQ, correct?
Yes. Just to make it a matter of the record, I would move that the board go forward with the RFQ.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to authorize the issuance of the RFQ for the potential solar field in Effingham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
let me continue. We've already talked about the $200,000. I would just say that we have more than enough justification for that figure, and I will be elaborating on, in greater detail at the deliberative session, on precisely why we need that $200,000. I'd also like to mention that our district maintenance manager and his assistant put out a monthly building and maintenance report. Some of the things we had just in the last month that were unanticipated. This is why we need some of this money we talk about. In New Durham, the heating circulator pump failed, and we have ordered a new pump. Just so you know, most of our systems, we have 2 pumps in case one fails. We still have heat. And because it's all digital, our district manager can actually change the pumps with his cell phone. It's awesome having everything digital. Kingswood Arts Center, domestic water meter failed. We've got to get that fixed because that's the town of Wolfborough's water. And the Crescent Lake School has 2 heating circulator pump seals that have failed and are leaking, and they're going to be, the seals are going to be rebuilt and repaired. Some of the upcoming projects, we need to replace the air compressor at the collision repair shop, install a new washer and dryer at Carpenter, and this is going to sound strange, install sagging sun deflectors on exterior windows at the Kingswood Arts Center. When we have these vertical windows up at the top, but not quite the top, there's a shelf that's designed to reflect sunlight up into the ceiling and provide more light into the classroom. Well, those shelves, we got some that are lagging right now. Sagging is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, sagging.
So that's something that's going to have to be fixed. Okay, that's that part. Let's see what else. I've got another note here. No, that's it for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm not going to say anything else for finance or human resources. They've talked enough. So moving to the closing activities, advanced planning, you can see down below that, let's see, where are we? 2-2 is our next, or the second is our deliberative session.
Yep.
Oh, right.
No school on the 21st, which is Martin Luther King Day. And then deliberative session is on February 2nd at 10 a.m. And our next board meeting is at Crescent Lake School on February 11th at 7 p.m. Public input? Yes?
Diane Smith again from
Sure.
Brookfield. I just, if you didn't already discuss it privately, or you may or may not know, that prior to the meeting starting, I delivered 2 petition warrant articles for the school district. One is for the creation of a budget committee, and there were a total of 56 signatures on those documents. And the other petition warrant article that has been submitted is to establish a tax cap of 2% on the local tax burden annually. And there were 46 voter signatures throughout the district who signed that. I also, in association with this one, provided the RSA that governs this one particular item. And unfortunately, while I don't agree with it, I didn't write the RSA and I have no control over it. And it will require a public hearing in each of the district towns for that one warrant article. So I wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay. All right. Closing comments by board members.
I, as well, started in early childhood education, so the fostering footprints was really, really nice to see, as well as Teen Wolf Crow and the life of an athlete, and I just could see all of that tying in to help kids in our district from the very beginning all the way through and into adulthood. And I'd just like to see that I think eventually all of that will be working together and coming together to help everyone.
I agree. Susan and Terry gave a great presentation. It's great to see our district meeting the community and coming together and starting a new program. I have 4 kids that play sports, so I was pretty excited to see the presentation from Aaron House. I think this will be great, especially in a district this big where kids have to travel so far and get up so early. It's such a commitment, especially in this district, for a student to play sports. I mean, these kids don't get home until 11 o'clock some nights, and they're catching the bus at 5:45 in the morning. So that, and just the nutrition aspect of it, and getting your homework done and still making it to the game on time, I think it'd be great for the students.
I was very impressed with Erin and the students' presentations. It's not often that we get kids who are willing to go out and stand out there on their own. And that SALT group should be one I would think Team Move Forward would be interested in working with.
I agree. I think I first heard about at one of our meetings this summer where it had come up, and I've been curious about it, so it was nice to hear more about it. And a long time ago, I worked with Susan when she did parent education, and I know the impact that she had at that level when she did it, so I'm excited to see the impact this program, working in collaboration with the Children's Center, will have on families in our communities and ultimately our students' schools.
And ditto pretty much what the other members have said, but certainly it's great to see the collaborative effort between the Children's Center and the school district in moving forward with getting this program up and running. That will only benefit in the long run. So, and certainly a shout out to our student athletes that came. Jim, you're right that it is tough to stand up in front of a crowd and give a presentation, so they did great. And also, there's been a lot of long nights and days, but I certainly want to thank those that are on the Human Resource and the Finance Committee, because you guys have done a great job this year, and a lot of hard work. So thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to, again, echo the thanks, and it brought me back to, I think it was Tufnborough, where we got that little, the night thing, and that's all I could think of was the life of the night or something and it just that's what really, I was like thinking of it, kind of listening to the special ed, the footprints, and then listening to Aaron going, oh, this really could be transcended, globally within the district, even, as for community partner purposes. That's what I was thinking of when they were talking about it. And my daughter does SALT as well, and they do a lot of community, for the, 68 hours of hunger, and it's a really good group of kids, and they get out there and volunteer and do a lot in the community. So I was happy to see that. And I want to say it was a true pleasure. It was my first time sitting on the Human Resources Department to work with the support staff, the administrators, and the teachers themselves. Blessed, respectful, funny, I was happy, these are the teachers that mold our youth here in our community, and I have to say that it was an honor to work with them to reach negotiations.
Great. Thank you. Bernie, you're up.
On to one of my favorite subjects. This weekend's Wall Street Journal, marijuana is more dangerous than you think. It's a rather lengthy article. I'm going to ask that it be submitted to the record. But in 2017, in the Journal of Social Psychiatry, examining drivers for violence among Chinese and British people, they found that drug use was linked to a 5-fold increase in violence, and that the drug was nearly always cannabis. It goes on to talk about 2015 and talks about murders that were 450 in the United States, with 300,000 aggravated assaults in 2013, and then in 2017 that was up to 620 murders and 38,000. There's a lot of things here that say that this isn't the friendly drug that everybody thinks it is, and we're surrounded by states and a country that have all legalized marijuana. And I'm just saying, our kids, we're asking a lot for them, but this is a very dangerous drug, and I'll give this to Linda to put into the record, if you don't mind.
Nope.
And last, I'd like to just comment that it's the 22nd is the first day to sign up for people running for re-election and stuff, and I will not be running. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Arnie. Well, you've certainly put in your time, and you don't know how much you'll be missed. But
It has been my pleasure.
Certainly appreciate everything you've done. Okay, Kelly.
I don't have anything.
Okay, no problem. I would just like to say, I mean, the presentations from Susan today, and Susan and Terry, I think that collaborative is just absolutely terrific. I'm excited about the life of an athlete because we talk about it at the NHIA meetings all the time, and it's been a challenge for them to get it off the ground. When it first came out, I read through the whole book and all that, and it was pretty hardcore, and hardcore to the point where it's not that the kids maybe weren't excited to maybe get into it, but a lot of parent resistance because it was so hardcore. It was like you look wrong and you're off the team. It was just really, really strict. And that's why there's been many policy changes over the years to bring it back into focus on what's the important piece. It's the it's respect, and it's nutrition, and it's how you live your life. And if you make a mistake, there's going to be consequences, but it's changed a little bit to make it more adaptable to more and more school districts. And NHIA has now 3 staff members that are working actively to go out and talk to school districts about it. So They only had one for a while, and they added a second. Now they've got a third one doing it. So really pushing it hard. And I think it's a great thing. So it was really nice to see that. And thank you for your input today. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here to listen to the budget presentation. And if anyone else has anything to say?
I just wanted to say briefly, there are 3 pieces of the Life of an Athlete program that really impressed me. And it was, I think, important to hear that it's not always about winning, that that's not really the purpose of athletics necessarily. I mean, it's nice to win,
Sure.
but that's not the only thing that athletics is about. And to me, the focus on health and wellness, and it definitely ties in with making good choices. So the 3 elements, the health and wellness, the making good choices, and the other piece that they really didn't get into a whole lot that I think is really important is the fact that the kids are to support each other in the healthy lifestyle. So rather than it being in the reverse, which sometimes can happen, peer pressure to do things maybe in the way you wish kids wouldn't, this is positive peer pressure to help kids make the right choices and do the healthy things. So I think it's going to be a real benefit to the school. And of course, Susan and Terry were wonderful, and it's great to see some help for parents too. So.
No, I just was going to say that Susan's title just doesn't even begin to tell the work, and I know all of you who have known her for so long, but she's just, she has such a heart for kids and does so much behind the scenes that I think a lot of people just don't even know, because she's so humble about it and she's so dedicated to what she does. And so it was really nice to hear a piece of it tonight, but I think we're just very fortunate to have her in our court for our kids' sake.
Okay. Okay, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91, paragraph A, semicolon 3, paragraph 2, for legal, personnel, and student matters.
So moved.
Kathy?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy? Juliana? Jim?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Bernie? Terrific. Thank you. Thank you again for coming.